Local apples. Did you know that fruit and veggies have not always looked like they currently do? Peaches used to be much smaller, with almost half of the fruit being the seed, and the skin was shiny and the taste was sour. The bananas we know and love are quite different from how they used to be. Wild bananas were full of hard seeds and had a thick, tough skin. The taste was much starchier. Watermelons used to be small and difficult to open and also had huge bitter seeds, and the fruit in itself was also bitter. Tomatoes used to look closer to berries than the fruit that we know today, so they were small and also very sour. So as you can see, throughout the 12,000 years or so since humans first developed agriculture, the foods we eat have undergone drastic transformations. So how did this happen? In the beginning, almost thousands of years before Christ, humans were hunters and gatherers and would collect fruit and veggies during their trips to the field. And then they will take it to their encampments to be consumed there. After consumption, the seeds were probably discarded close to their campsites, resulting in clusters of seedlings from which they in future then could choose to their heart's content. The trees in these clusters could also naturally cross-pollinate each other, creating hybrids. Now, this process in itself has further evolved from an unconscious recolored selection of the best genotypes to active hybridization and selection programs, resulting in fruit tree domestication, which reached a stage of a uniform, single-species cultivated plot, which is called orchards these days. Now, the main criteria for all fruit breeding programs have been twofold, namely to increase production and quality, which differed immensely from the original fruits, of which only a few were illustrated. Now, production and quality brings us to our topic of today, local apples. We are going to see why we want to have local apples, what is local apples, and how do we breed for local apples. And if you were wondering, apples was also small and they were bitter. So why do we want to breed apples? Why is it so important? Now apples are the most popular fruit in the world, and it can be consumed fresh. It can be processed as a juice or a puree, dried, or used as an alcoholic cider. It's other purposes such as the production of beauty creams and seed oil, and further it is rich in antioxidants, phytonutrients, flavonoids, and polyphenolics. Hence the favorite saying of apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, modern fruit. Apples are definitely the most versatile with regards to season and storability. You can go to almost any shop at any time all through the world and you will find an apple on the shelf. Now, with 500 varieties worldwide to use in breeding programs, apples are also genetically highly diverse and has a real treasure chest of genetic potential regarding natural disease resistance, fruit taste, texture, shape, and color. A global commodity, being the third most important fresh fruit globally, with 85 million tons being produced by 95 countries. And in South Africa in 2020, almost 960,000 tons was produced to a value of 6.1 billion, deeming it a really important culture. So, apple trees also need to rest in the winter, as it is part of the palm fruit fraternity, where a winter rest or dormancy is a normal appearance. It then also requires chill units to achieve bud break in the spring and also to grow normally after that until fruiting. So what is a high chill unit or chill units? Chill units is basically, in simple terms, just the amount of hours that a plant has to be below 7 degrees Celsius in order for it to get out of its resting period. Now for apples, which is have a high chill requirement, this is more or less 800 to 1,000 hours below 7 degrees Celsius. Now we know that climate change is a problem and it's a reality these days. And an increase in the maximum temperatures over 75 years for certain areas of South Africa have been predicted. And it has already started, as the prediction was from 2015 to 2019. And you can see how the warm areas are growing if you look at the red and the red areas versus the green and blue areas on the left-hand side. However, it's also not only the maximum temperatures that are increasing, which is a problem, but also the minimum temperatures, as can be seen in the four maps on the right-hand side. This illustrates that average minimum temperatures, which is the blue areas, are growing smaller and smaller, while the warmer areas, the greener areas, are growing larger, which will deem areas such as Ceres, Villiersdorp and Langkloof, which is the main apple production areas, too warm for producing apples with high chill requirement. Now, this increasing climate volatility can be disastrous and even wipe out orchards in totality. So the question arises now, what can we do? What do we need? We need a future apple, one that has got a low chill requirement but still have an outstanding eating quality, still have good fruit appearance, still have a long storage period, and have good production as well as disease resistance. What's the problem? There is a cultivar, it's named Anna. It's a golden delicious type with a very low winter chill of below 300 hours. It was discovered already in the late 1950s at a kibbutz in Israel. It's an early season apple, it crops heavily, and it grows excellently under tropic conditions. So what is the problem? It tastes awful. And on top of that, it cannot store for longer than 2 weeks, which seems it very unsuitable for exports. So how do we save the day? Many of our modern fruits and vegetables were changed through crossbreeding or hybridization over many years. Conventional breeding is a tested and proven method for combining and enhancing apple traits. The process involves the collection of pollen from a promising parent and depositing it on the stigma of another promising parent. As soon as the fruit is set, the seed, which is now a combination of the two cultivars, is harvested. And once the seedlings are big enough and is transplanted to the field, it is screened for the relevant traits that we are looking for. At ARC, Anna was crossed meticulously with modern high-quality cultivars with good storability and great eating characteristics, with the result that a range of cultivars was developed that's adaptable to a changing agricultural landscape. Hence, the climate change problem was solved by the low-chill Afri series. And in this series, we have a few stars called Afri Blush, Afri Star, Afri Coral, Afri Sunrise, Afri Rose, and Afri Glow. Even 9 more selections identified that needs to be scrutinized for all the traits to see whether they are worthy to be added to this range of low-chill apples. What is the take-home message? With plus minus 250 unique sessions in our gene bank, we have the breeding material. With our breeders, we have technical know-how and proven expertise. We have farms in the ARC and farmland covering the whole climatic spectrum, from low to high chill, to test this breeding material. We have the chill range with a good production and other sought after attributes to service the farming community. Innovation is something that we can be very proud of, as well as the history of developing cultivars to the industry-specific standards. So, what does the future hold in? Does breeding sound like fun to you? Are you interested to become a fruit breeder? Well, a breeder's day definitely does not follow a set routine, but involve many aspects which can include greenhouse work, field activities, laboratory research, and office tasks. You will need in minimum a BSc Agric Honours in plant breeding with subjects like genetics with either horticulture, if you want to breed fruits and vegetables, or agronomy if you want to breed maize and wheat. You will also need a basic knowledge of biometry or statistics. So what other character traits do you need to be great at your job? You need to be able to stand for long hours in the field, be inquisitive and innovative, be highly organized. However, if field work doesn't seem like your cup of tea, you could always opt for the laboratory work, helping with the development of markers for breeding and other biotechnology techniques. So what do I love about agriculture as a space to work in? The diversity and the knowledge of knowing that I'm contributing to the well-being of the farmer, that I'll be able to contribute to food security, and that I'm putting healthy fruit on the consumer's plate. So, aren't you excited? You too can become a breeder. The work is never boring.